Top Boy.
Yeah.
Crazy how that all played out.
Yeah. It's been an amazing journey, you know. Never thought it would actually. When we were shooting the first season, I remember Kane looking at me and going, "Are they gonna put this? Are they gonna put this on TV?" Because the subject matter, you know, some of the things we was in the process. We were shooting that scene where we cut off Sway's finger in the market in Summer House, and we was literally looking at each other like, Channel 4 gonna put this on TV, because we've never seen anything on TV like it at the time. But you know, cut from that to where we are today, one of the biggest shows on Netflix, one of our biggest kind of exports from the UK globally, and you know, people walking down the street and people just hearing Deshane from every angle of London. It's crazy, you know. It changed my life.
In hindsight, you see how big of an opportunity it was. But when someone approached you with that, and that you saw the script and you saw the role you'd be playing in it, you must not have had an idea that it was gonna. What did you think?
I didn't. Do you want to know why I did it?
Why?
Right? Because like literally months before, I'd said to my agent, I said, "Look, I'm sick of just being a bad boy all the time. Like, I can't keep on playing these same roles. Like, so all I'm getting is, after I'd done Bullet Boy, I was just getting the same scripts over and over again.
You've been typecasted.
Typecast, yeah. And I was like, I'm not, you know, I'd done a bit of research. I'd watched like videos of other actors, like Black American actors, had been in the same position, and other people and I just said, look, I have to be willing not to work, but I want to be seen for other roles. Like, I want to be, and she made me know. She was like, look, you may not get any work for a while. That means like no money, no this and that. And I was like, oh, so be it. So that situation came about. But then the Top Boy script came. I remember not too long after having that conversation. And for the first time for me reading that script, I was like, wow. It felt like Goodfellas, Scarface, like all of those shows, those films that I'd grown up on that were very violent, don't get me wrong, but behind it all, there was some structure and hierarchy. It was the first time that I'd seen black organized crime not looking like a bunch of crazy kids with hoodies just doing crazy shit and not having no, you know, with no sense. It was like I read characters that were human, that I finally was like, I saw the people behind the hood. I understood why they was doing what they was doing, or what their motivation was for, whether I agreed with it or not. And I saw a character in Deshane that was like aspired for greater, like he wanted to change the face of the game. You know, his initial intention was that I can do this, I'm going to be the best at it, right? But along the way, I'm not going to hurt people, and I'm going to feed everyone, you know? And he was on, like, you know, that entrepreneurial kind of, it was like there within the script and within the character. And that was like, that turned me. So like literally months after going, I ain't doing no more of these roles or whatever, that script coming, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this one though. And that's what made me do it.
And there was no hesitation?
Once I read it, no. I never read anything like it. And you got to imagine, I was reading loads of, like when I say everything I read was about a black boy from inner city London that was a drug dealer or was stabbing someone or was shooting someone or whatever. It's like loads of different like iterations of the same character, right? And when I read that, just stood out for me. It was something different. I knew that there was something different about it, but I'd had no idea that it would cut through the way it did.
Channel 4 just didn't do a third series, right? They stopped at 2 series. Why was that? I couldn't figure that out from rummaging and reading.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one who can't figure it out. I mean, I think over the years, because I've been asked that so much, right? And I've learned or created scenarios that could have happened.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I don't know, but I do think there was a change of guard around the time that it was this third season should have been commissioned.
Yeah.
And I feel like when that happens, ideas need to change in order for the new person to feel like they're not living off the coattails of what the last person created that was successful. And usually it's the most successful thing that gets the axe then, because there's nothing that, I can't take the credit for this success. So I feel like that might have been a reason why, or maybe there just wasn't the space there at the time for them to take it where it needed to go to the next level. But either way, like we discussed before, so good that it happened that way, right? And it had that space to just not be around and for people to want it back for so many years before we got into the new situation.
Why did it come back in your view?
I think it timing wise, when it was on Channel 4, it landed at such a pivotal time just in London and for culture, and coincided with like the real kind of social media kind of push and all of that stuff. So I think it was kind of cemented in people's minds, and I think it was like the first of its kind really to do what it did. So I think that having that fan base, that key kind of niche sort of fan base, cult fan base, kept it alive. And then I think
it translated as well, didn't it? Really interestingly, because a lot of the work at that time that was one on the surface might think was similar, those stories of of London and young black men and crime and all of that stuff, they didn't translate well globally. They didn't cross over to like different audiences, and in the same way that for some reason Top Boy just crossed over. And maybe it's because of that complexity and that how thought through the plots and storylines and characters are. And it wasn't just surface level shit. Like a lot of the other stuff was like stereotypical surface level.
Yeah, it were humans on the page. And what happened, you walk away from you root for these characters no matter what they're doing, and that's because they're 3D. And so you understand kind of what's going on in their heads. I think from the beginning, we've always incorporated what's going on outside of that world. I think in like season 1 on Channel 4, it was like mental health. There was a lot of other issues that we were throwing in there, with the little kid Gem Soul, just kind of his family structure and neglect from his parents and stuff like that. There was just other things that kind of we talked about that you just didn't get in the other shows. And then we had, a big part of this puzzle was Yan Demange, because he's a filmmaker, right? He's a very cinematic, well-versed kind of filmmaker that knows how to get brilliant performances out of people. And remember, maybe 90% of our cast in that first season had never acted before.
It's crazy.
So you needed someone at the helm driving that had a clear understanding of how to get great performances out of people that hadn't had that much experience, and also shoot a beautiful TV show.
What do you have to do to get the best performance out of yourself? Do you have any rituals or anything when you're going on set? Is there anything that you do to embody the character, and to also just like get yourself in the right frame of mind?
I have no set of rules, but I'm open to being willing to do what it takes for any given. It's different every time. You know, I've had characters where I've gone into to play that I'm like, I don't even know if I can do this, so I'm shit scared. So I will do everything. Like I'm not eating. I'm mover. Don't speak to people that I love. Like, you know, this was for a role where I played like an alcoholic, like crack addicted, like character. I stopped eating food. You know, I needed to lose the weight. I needed to feel homeless. So I kind of put myself in a situation where I left my household and I slept on a mattress in a 1-bedroom kind of apartment thing, and like really pushed myself to the limits. Because sometimes I don't know how else I'm going to do something. Like just being able to act isn't enough. Like I need to feel it. Like I need to, you know. And then there's other times where I'm like, actually, I don't need to do that much. Like I know this person like quite well. You know, I need to be well versed on who that character is, what their backstory is, so I can be free, like when I'm in the moment. But you know, I'm not one of these guys that have like a set of rules, and a lot of the time I believe less is more. You know, I don't want to be over prepared, because then I feel like there's no vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So it gets picked up by Netflix.
Yeah.
And it becomes a mega show, one of their biggest shows of all time. Life changes for you hugely. You go on this journey for another 2 seasons on Netflix, and then you have one final season on its way. How do you feel about that?
It's bittersweet.
What's the bitter and what's the sweet?
It's bitter that some of the people on that show that I've worked with the whole time and been doing it, I like my family, you know? And actually I know, we've discussed this, the type of person that I am, I'm not going to see them that much after, right? It was our reason for connection. And so what happens in this world, you move on, you make other families, you develop other relationships. So I worry about like losing those connections a bit.
You look sad as you say it. I can see the emotion in your face.
Yeah, that's a bit of thing for me. It's like, remember, you spend more time with these people than you do with your actual family. You know, you invest so much into them, and so it's tough. I mean, and I mean, if I'm honest with you, the last film in the last season brought me and Kane probably even closer than we've ever been kind of doing that show, because we didn't have the greatest time, you know, fighting for what we believed in. And making it the best show that we could make it be, you know, the best last season for the fans. Like, people don't understand, like, we go hard for that show. We go hard to make sure the scripts are right. We go hard to make sure other characters are being represented in the way they should be, and storylines make sense and whatever. And the truth is, we faced a lot of resistance this time around, you know. We wasn't given the creative input all the time that we desired. And this is like a common thing, you know, this happens behind the scenes. So this is not me being a grass or anything. It's just like, it's the reality. And sometimes, you know, when there's 7 execs, 8 execs, not everyone agrees, and you got to, you know, you have to, it's business. You've been there, right? You know how it goes.
Feeling,
yeah. So it was tough. We went through a tough experience we haven't been through before. And that brought us closer together. So it's even harder knowing that this is the last time, because we developed another level to our relationship where I was like, like as businessmen, like
we're a team.
We're a team as well, you know what I mean? You know, but the sweet thing about it, if you want to make, you know, end on a positive, is that I've got my life back. You know, I mean, To a certain extent. Deshane is a very popular character. But when I say life back, meaning that I can pursue other avenues. You know, contractually, I was tied down to that show for a long time. You know, that's how it works. And it'd be nice to see what else is out there, what else I can do, where I can take my career.
You scared a little bit?
I was just going to say that, yeah. So it's also scary because that was is to get that stability in the acting game is very rare. You know, usually if you want that sort of stability with a show or whatever, then you have to go and do a soap. You know, don't really get it from like drama like that. So yeah, it's been nice. It's been good for the family. It's been good for me to focus on just being an artist and enjoying what I do rather than worrying about mortgages and, you know, other stuff. But yeah, been a brilliant time.
Did you win the fight? When I say the fight, you two were fighting to have the show be the way you want it to be. Are you happy with how it's ended up this final season?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I wouldn't say necessarily that we won. But I think the process of pushing back and fighting for what you believe in always, without doing that, I don't think we would have got to where we got to. I think that the push and pull that happens within that process is what makes the show as good as it is.
You'll never be able to see the impact it's had on young people's lives all around the world and perceptions shifting and all of these things. But if you were to try and define that, what is the impact you think the show's had on culture, on the world?
Exactly that. I think if I can define it, it will be. I had a meeting today, with like a Nigerian man that owns like a record label, a very famous record label, right, and production company. And we sat down today and we was talking, and he was like, "Thank you, because it's made his job a lot easier." You know, I had the same conversation with Giggs, who spends a lot of time in the States, and he was like, I don't have to explain myself anymore when I go out there. Like, around the world, they now, because of the show, they kind of know where I come from. You know, so when it comes to marketing or whatever, do you know what I mean? Like announcing yourself when you go somewhere into a new territory or whatever, it's like there is an association for them to have. And I think that's what the show has done. It's kind of taken us from cups of tea and biscuits and period drama and maybe Notting Hill or whatever, you know, stuff like that, to the rest of the world kind of understanding that, you know, and there's another side to what we have. And I think as a foundation, as a way of opening the door into the international market, accepting what we export, I think is really good. I think now from here we should push on into telling Black stories that don't necessarily have to be from the same world as Top Boy.
This is the most crazy stat you'll ever hear. 93.3% of you that watch this channel frequently haven't yet hit the subscribe button. So if you liked this clip and if you like what we do here, please can you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button? And in return, I promise you, I will do everything I can from now until forever to make this channel better and better and better.